can you categorize these types of needs? And he's used different criterion to give you different classification of needs. The first way he categorizes needs into two forms. One is primary and the other one is secondary. Now primary needs are viscerogenic needs, which are naturally linked to organic events, referring to physical satisfaction. Organic needs ये बंद ये चालू. Organic needs which are related to organic events, typically referring to physical satisfaction, like need for air, water, food, sex, rest. All these are organic needs. Defecation. Okay? On the other hand, secondary needs are psychogenic needs, which are derived from the primary needs and are characterized by lack of focal connection derived from primary needs and are characterized by lack of focal connection with any organic process, lack of focal connection with any organic process or physical satisfactions. ठीक है? So two types, primary है जो आपकी physical satisfaction मांगते हैं और secondary है जो कि psychological needs है, viscerogenic नहीं है. ये based आपके primary needs पर ही है, लेकिन direct इनका कोई link physical satisfaction के साथ नहीं है. Organic
process or physical satisfaction.
ठीक है? Now another way of categorizing here, the second categorization is drawn between
Physical satisfaction.
overt and overt, or the other name he uses is manifest or latent. Overt जो है वो latent हो गया, overt जो है वो manifest हो गया. Now needs that are permitted more or less direct and immediate expression. They are overt needs which are permitted direct and immediate expression are overt, whereas those that are generally restrained, inhibited or repressed are covert needs. Like all your motor behavior that you indulge in is overt.
Yes, ma'am.
दिखता है, whereas the things that get went out in your fantasies or dreams, they are your covert needs. ठीक है? The third categorization is focal and diffused needs. Focal, F-O-C-A-L, and diffuse. Now here Murray says some needs are closely linked to limited classes of environmental objects, whereas there are certain needs which are generalized. So their applicability is generalized to a number of objects. So वो diffused हो जाती हैं जो generalized हैं और जो focal needs हैं वो specific objects के साथ related. Needs that are closely linked to limited classes of environmental objects are focal needs, whereas those which are generalized and are applicable in almost any environmental setting are diffuse needs. Now here he goes on further to interestingly he says that जो आपकी attachment of a need to any environmental object है वो focal हो गया ना, ठीक है? और अगर diffuse भी है तो वो किसी एक चीज पर कभी attach होगा. अब जब need किसी object के साथ attach होता है तो psychoanalytical भाषा में क्या शब्द यूज करते हैं इसके लिए? Attachment of libido to object किया था फ्रॉइड ने. वहाँ उससे पहले फिक्सेशन तो पैथोलॉजिकल होता है. Cathexis. ठीक है. So now here he says that the attachment of the need to any object is something that is liable to change. अभी किसी चीज के साथ attached है और फिर कभी किसी और चीज के साथ. So always subject to change है आपके ये objects towards which the need is directed. Now in case that thing is not changing and it gets stuck on something, that is what is fixation. ठीक है. And similarly the scope of objects can be narrowed or it can be broadened. As you grow up, for example, your many needs get more expressive, they are applicable to more environmental objects. जितना exposure होता जाता है उतना उनका span बढ़ता जाता है. ठीक है. So आपका जो ये focal needs भी है ये तो बिल्कुल specific उन्हीं objects के साथ हैं. Like for a newborn, what is the basic gratification is happening from where? जो अगर hunger need है,
Mouth.
breast milk.
Yes.
फिर as the child grows maybe water and semi solid food ये बढ़ते जाता है. आज की डेट में हमारे पास कितनी वैरायटी है. डिफ्यूज कर दिया ना उसको. ठीक है. उसमें उस टाइम पे हम मैक्सिमम डिफ्यूज करते हैं कि अच्छा उसको हम अगर baby is crying and the mother is not available, then maybe you rock the child and try to give solace, so वो कहीं ना कहीं comfort के साथ उसको diffuse करने की कोशिश करते हैं. लेकिन बड़ा specific है कि जब तक खाना नहीं मिलेगा need prevail करेगी. आज की डेट में हमारे पास खाने के और पीने के और कितना you have number of varieties besides that. So you can always broaden or narrow the acts that are attached. But then fixation is when a need gets firmly attached to an unsuitable object. That is fixation. Now on the other hand, he says that it is equally pathological if the need is unable to get attached to any object. अगर free floating रह जाता है और कहीं पर भी stable तरीके से need fixate effect नहीं हो पाता, वो भी उतना ही pathological है जितना कि fixation. ठीक है. हाँ जी बोलिए.
Unsuitable object.
Unsuitable, like what is fixation generally? Give me an example of fixation. Let's talk about fixation at an oral stage.
To the mouth or licking or chewing the thumb.
Thumb sucking, अगर वो adulthood में भी हो रहा है.
Smoking.
Newborns, छोटे बच्चों तक तो ठीक है. ठीक है. या smoking है, या drinking है, alcoholism है, ये सब, या overeating है, hogging है, erotic pleasure तो वहीं से आ रहा है ना. ठीक है. या you are too much into talking. Generally people who get oral gratification they talk also more. ठीक है. So वो unsuitable है. Like let's talk about just say some thumb sucking only. Adulthood में भी अगर thumb sucking चल रहा है तो वो unsuitable object है ना. You know people who do it? I knew someone who used to do it. He has kids but he still does. Okay. Now the fourth categorization is proactive and reactive needs. Proactive and reactive needs. Proactive need is one that is largely determined from within and one that becomes spontaneously kinetic. It is largely determined from within and it becomes spontaneously kinetic as a result of something in the person rather than something in the environment. अंदर से ही spontaneously वो need emerge कर जाता है. That is a proactive need. Reactive need on the other hand is activated as a result of or in response to some environmental event. So the distinction mainly is between emitted and elicited. ठीक है? जो आपकी reactive needs हैं वो elicited है, whereas your proactive needs are emitted. Now another categorization, the fifth distinction is between three needs, three types. One is process activity. Second is modal need, MODAL, modal need, and the third is effect need. Now, effect needs, पहले करते हैं. They are the needs that lead to some desired state or end result. Effect needs are the ones which lead to some desired state or end result. Whereas process needs are the ones which are performed for the sake of performance itself. Tendencies to perform certain acts for the sake of performance itself. So it is basically, something like, for example, random, non-coordinated, vision. Like for example, आपकी आंखें हैं तो देखेंगे ही ना. Maximum you can do is close your eyes, but with ears you can't do that also. कान तो खुले रहते हैं, जो भी environment में चीजें हैं. So that process itself is gratifying. So there is a need, and they are just by birth because you have those organs and you can, you indulge in those needs. So process activity is, something that is indulged in because of sheer function and pleasure. So doing for the sake of doing. Whereas modal needs involve doing something with a certain degree of excellence or quality. Doing something with a degree of excellence or quality. Here also it is the activity that is enjoyed. It is the activity that is enjoyed, but it is now rewarding only if it is performed with a certain degree of perfection. I'll repeat. Here also it is the activity that is sought and enjoyed, but it is now rewarding only when it is performed with certain degree of perfection. Okay? So to do something with perfection, to do it to the best of your effort or capability, that are modal. Okay? Okay, now since we've talked about various categorization of needs put forth by Murray, he further elaborates upon कि ये सारी जो आपने इतनी सारी variety of needs कर ली, how do they get interrelated, how do they interplay in behavior, and he says that none of the need generally in normal life plays in isolation. They are interacting with other needs or interplaying with other needs, and there are different ways in which they can interact. The first thing that he talks about is prepotency. Prepotency. He says that needs are generally arranged in a hierarchy based on prepotency, which refers to needs that become regnant. Prepotency means needs that become regnant with greatest urgency if they are not satisfied. With greatest urgency if they are not satisfied. So whenever you have two or more, needs that are aroused simultaneously, and they motivate somewhere incompatible responses, the strongest need would prevail. Like for example, if you talk about, अगर हमने पहले भी शायद ये बात की थी, if I'm not mistaken in Pavlov, कि food center is the strongest center survival के लिए.
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है. तो फूड और अगर सिक्योरिटी दोनों है, Like in animal kingdom, they would go out of their वो and they will, you know, security को दाव पर रखकर food के लिए fight करते हैं, ठीक है? लेकिन जब लगता है कि अब जान पे ही बनाई और safety और security compromise हो रही है, तो फिर शायद खाना छोड़ के भाग जाएंगे, ठीक है? तो उस moment पे कौन सी meat ज़्यादा prepotent हो जाएगा, कौन सा ज़्यादा strong हो जाएगा, वो will be made. Now the second thing he talks about is where he calls it as fusion of needs. The second process, that is fusion. Here he says that under certain circumstances, multiple needs may be gratified. Multiple needs may be gratified by a single course of action. That is where the outcome of different needs is course of action. That is the outcome of different needs is behaviorally the same. एक ही behavior या एक ही action से आपकी जब multiple needs gratify हो रही है, that is because they are getting fusion हो रहा है, they are fused together. That is when the outcome of different needs is behaviorally the same. Like when a newborn is being fed, it is not only the hunger need that is being gratified, security भी, cuddling जो है मदर की lap में है ना, that आपकी जितनी psychogenic needs हैं वो भी साथ में, safety ये सारी साथ में fulfill हो रही है. So all those needs get fused together. Okay. Now another process he calls it as subsidization. Subsidiary need is one that operates in the service of another. Like for example, at times if a person is showing aggressiveness, it might be a need which is actually gratifying acquisitiveness, acquire करने की, ठीक है? या फिर कहीं ना कहीं शायद aggression is a need which is actually feeding another underlying need, that is rejection. पर पढ़ा ना? पढ़ी थी ना need?
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है? इससे पहले कि आप मुझे रिजेक्ट करो, मैं नाराज हो जाऊँ, ठीक है? That kind. या जैसे हम करते हैं कि मेरी फ्रेंड हो तो मेरे से ही बात करो, जो possessiveness है, और किसी से बात नहीं करो, खबरदार किसी और से बात करो. वो जो आप aggression show करते हैं, वो possessiveness है, that to acquire that relationship, you know? So that is one way. So basically one need is serving the other need, that is subsidiary. Clear? Okay. Now another concept besides needs, we have elaborated upon needs. Another very pertinent concept in Murray's work is of press. Press, कल refer किया था हमने थोड़ा, which is basically environmental objects आपके. So press is a property or an attribute of an environmental object or person. ये सब short notes आते हैं 7.5 या 2 markers. मरे में भरे हुए 2 markers. ठीक है, इसीलिए अब डिटेल में करा रही हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे पिछली बार लगा कि फुल क्वेश्चन भी आ गया 15 में से और 2 नंबर के भी कई सारे आ जाते हैं. It is the property or an attribute of an environmental object or person that facilitates or impedes the efforts of the individual, that facilitates or impedes the efforts of an individual to reach a given goal. To reach a given goal. So press are linked to persons or objects that have direct implications for the efforts of the individual to satisfy their needs. Anything that has direct implication on your need gratification, that will become a press. Okay? So any object or any individual in your environment which can have an impact on your direct effort to gratify is a press. So press of an object is what it can do to the subject or for the subject. Press of an object is what it can do to the subject or for the subject. So press shows the picture of the way in which the person views. It shows the picture of the way in which the person views or interprets the environment. And Murray has given a list of press that can act upon an individual, especially childhood के time पे अगर आप जो significant childhood events या influences आपकी personality पर असर डाल सकते हैं, उनकी पूरी list है. अगर आप देखेंगे book में जाकर, it's in table 6.2. I'll just read a few for you. Like family insupporт, cultural discord, family discord, parental separation, absence of a parent, parental illness, death of a parent, unsettled home, poverty, danger, physical insupport, aloneness, darkness, fire, accident, animals, anything, okay? Lack or loss of nourishment or of possessions, of companionship, anything that you don't have. Retention, withholding of objects, rejection, rivals, birth of a sibling, aggression, maltreatment by an elder male or an elder female, quarrelsome contemporaries. All these are different presses. Nurturance, succurrence, deference, praise, recognition, affiliation, friendships, exposure, seduction, deception or betrayal, inferiority, any kind, physical, social, intellectual. All these are different presses that can have an impact. कल मैं बहुत funny सा तुम्हें चीज़ narrate कर रही थी. How my elder sibling used to boss around on my friends. That's a press. No? Don't you think? नहीं लगता? अगर तुम्हारे को अपनी मर्जी के दोस्त ना बनाने दिए जाएं और तुम्हारे सारे दोस्त भगा दिए जाएं और जबरदस्ती बोला जाए कि इन्हीं से दोस्ती करनी है, प्रेस है ना? ठीक है? So anything, कल मैं जो क्यूट से तुम्हारे को so called instances बोल रही थी कि हर गेम लड़ाई से खत्म होती थी, you know, that kind of thing. कल बात कर रहे थे ना, when I used to play with my sibling, वो हमेशा रौंडी पिट के बॉस मारते थे, and my mother used to say कि रोने की जरूरत नहीं है, फिर वापस खेलोगे उन्हीं के साथ जाके. और वो trust me, अब भी I am 51 and she is 54, हमारा वो अभी भी चलता है वैसा equation. हाँ, ये this will carry on. अब games change हो गई हैं, अब स्टापू और गिट्टे नहीं खेल रहे, पर games अलग हो गई हैं. लेकिन the things they remain, and that's how all these presses which are considered to be early childhood. I remember a very promising master student we had a few years ago. He was really trying hard to clear CDS और interview से रह जाता था, interview से हमेशा बाहर आ जाता था. And फिर उसने शायद पुलिस के लिए भी ट्राई किया. Ultimately he gave up and he went back to his father's farms, farming करते थे. About press, he says that there are two aspects of press. One is alpha press and the other one is beta press. Alpha, beta. Now alpha press is basically the operation of a press. Or it is how the press exists in reality or is objectively available. So all those properties of the environmental objects that exist in reality or as objective inquiry are alpha presses, whereas beta presses environmental objects as they are perceived or interpreted by the individual. As they are perceived or interpreted by the individual. And Murray says that an individual's behavior is most closely related to the beta press rather than the alpha press. Individual's behavior is more closely related to the beta press, but it is nevertheless important to discover the situations in which there is wide discrepancy between beta press to which the individual is reacting and the alpha press that actually exists. And repeat, but nevertheless it is important to discover the situations in which there is a wide discrepancy between the beta press to which the individual is reacting and the alpha press that actually exists. Okay? So whatever is the physical reality is one part, that is your alpha press. बट उसको आप कैसे एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं, सब्जेक्टिवली कैसे इंटरप्रेट या महसूस कर रहे हैं, वो आपका बीटा प्रेस है. और मोस्टली जो हमारा रिस्पॉन्स या रिएक्शन होता है एनवायरनमेंट के प्रति, वो हमारी बीटा प्रेस पर बेस्ड होता है रादर देन हमारी अल्फा प्रेस पर. इन नॉर्मल फंक्शनिंग, इफ एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग ऑन फाइन, देन मोस्टली आवर अल्फा प्रेस एंड बीटा प्रेस आर मैच. जो है वैसा सा ही हमें दिखता या महसूस होता है या परसीव होता है, तो फिर हमारी adaptation to the environment
individual is
but at
reacting.
times it can be, you know, that there is a discrepancy or they part away and they are entirely different. जो actual reality है उसके बजाय आपको समझ और दिख कुछ और रहा है और आप वो जो दिख और समझ रहा है उसके बेस पे रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे हैं, तो फिर वहाँ पे मिसफायर होगा या फिर प्रॉब्लम होगा. I'll give you another example. Few days ago, a child of almost your age came for some help, very disturbed, apparently from single child, from a very normal functioning family. Her parents had good relationship, everything smooth, no discord. And the child says, I am very disturbed because I feel my father is having a fling something. So I said, then what have you done? A little bit more. He goes a step further, and Murray says that at times you indulge in actions that further enhance the tension, and that enhancement of the tension itself is gratifying. थोड़ा सा complicated है. हाँ.
तो वो enhancement होगी इस चीज़
वो
का.
और enhance करता है आपकी sadness को. या फिर like for example जो हम में से कोई है जो thrill seeking पे आए हैं, तो अगर आपको जैसे आपने कोई एक रोलर कोस्टर किया या ऐसा कुछ एडवेंचर किया, फिर अगली बार आप और हाइट से जंप करने की कोशिश करते हैं, so और thrill seeking आपका, so you enhance the need all the more. So every time you jump, it doesn't get gratified, it in fact propels you for another, you know, height. So that is how it is. So that's another version that is added to tension reduction. Now besides press, he talks about another concept, and that is thema. Thema. Another 2 marker please. Thema. Thema. Now thema is a molar and interactive behavioral unit. It is a molar and interactive behavioral unit. It includes the instigating situation, bracket में लिखिए press. It includes the instigating situation, that is the press, and the need that is operating. So it deals with the interaction between the needs and the press, and permits a more global and less segmental view of behavior. It deals with the interaction between the needs and the press and permits a more or less global rather than segmental view of behavior. So basically it includes both the cause and the effect. Segmental view of behavior Basically, it includes both the cause and effect of behavior. It can vary from simple formulation of single subject-object interactions. It can vary from simple formulation of single subject-object interactions to more general. It can vary from simple formulations of single subject-object interactions to more general and cruder formulations in longer transactions. To more general and cruder formulations of longer transactions. And then it includes formulations that represent a combination of a number of simple themas. It is called a serial thema. Now see, like for example, in a dyadic unit, say two people interacting, subject-object interaction. That's one thema. But when you talk of serial thema, Murray says that if you are just observing two people interacting, it is not important, and maybe just one interaction you've seen. उसने कुछ कहा और दूसरे ने कुछ कहा. Just one episode. That's one thema. ठीक है? Now, if you are a third-party observer and seeing this interaction, then the person who he says that if you are, say, for example, assessing the personality of A interacting with B, and A said something to B, okay? So that would be a good enough, source of data for you as an assessor of personality of A, कि किस तरह से जवाब दिया या किस तरह से बोले. But he says that of equal importance is the characteristics of B. तब आपको उस पर भी ध्यान देना है कि किसके लिए बोला गया है, ठीक है? So for a complete assessment, it is basically the nature of person with whom the subject is interacting that is also equally relevant. So when you're talking about themas, you have to consider the whole context, the serial, which is actually anticipating and finally what will be the result to make a correct assessment of the thema. Okay, so but then that is why he says that it is a molar unit. Like for example, if somebody is being snubbed by someone, so what is the chance that how will the other person respond? How will, if A is snubbing B, how B will respond? क्या क्या हो सकता है? Snub back हो सकता है? So that is a different need that is prevailing, or maybe would try all the more hard to make A happy so that A does not snub. That's a different affiliative need आ गया ना, ऊपर rejection need आ गया नीचे. So different needs can be inferred from different interactions that happen. Now another concept that comes handy is need integrate. Now he says that with experience, the individual comes to associate particular environmental objects with certain needs. Comes to associate particular environmental objects with set of needs, with certain needs. Likewise, particular mode of responses may be acquired and associated with the need. Particular mode of responses may be acquired and associated with the need. बच्चा बार-बार मुझसे बात कर रहा है. Draw an analogy. If the child is saying my father is like this, ये मुझे पता है ऐसे है.